What if I told you one of the biggest political battles of the last decade wasn't fought with soldiers, tanks, or missiles, but with oil, money, and a lot of pressure behind the scenes? This is the story of Donald Trump and Venezuela, and how a country with some of the most oil on earth ended up in one of the worst economic collapses in modern history. And before you click away thinking this is just politics, stay with me. Because this story affects real people, schools, families, and millions of lives. Let's start with one simple question. Why does Venezuela even matter? The answer is oil. A lot of oil. In fact, Venezuela has the largest proven oil reserves in the entire world. More than Saudi Arabia. More than the United States. For decades, Venezuela made massive amounts of money selling oil to other countries, including the US. But here's the problem. Venezuela built almost its entire economy on oil and barely anything else. So when oil prices dropped and when corruption, bad management, and overspending took over, everything started to fall apart. Money lost value. Inflation went out of control. Food became scarce. Hospitals struggled. Schools closed. Teachers quit. And millions of people left the country to survive. By the time Donald Trump became president in 2017, Venezuela was already in deep trouble. Trump looked at Venezuela and saw three things: a collapsing economy, a socialist government he strongly opposed, and a leader, Nicolas Maduro, who he believed was corrupt and illegitimate. Trump didn't hide his opinion. He openly called Venezuela a dictatorship and promised what he called maximum pressure. And this is where things get interesting. Because Trump didn't send the military. He didn't invade. Instead, he used something far more powerful in the modern world: money. Trump's main weapon against Venezuela was economic sanctions. Sanctions are basically rules that say a country is not allowed to trade normally, use international banks, or access certain resources. In Venezuela's case, the U.S. targeted the heart of the economy: oil. The Trump administration blocked Venezuela from selling oil to the U.S., froze government assets, and cut off access to U.S. dollars. The idea was simple. If the government runs out of money, it can't survive. The plan was to pressure the population so much that they would turn against the government, force Maduro out, and replace him with a new leader. Sounds straightforward. But reality is never that simple. Here's a quick way to think about it. Imagine your boss is terrible. So someone decides the solution is to shut down the entire company. The boss might feel pressure, but the workers lose their jobs first. That's what sanctions can do. In 2019, things reached a dramatic moment. The U.S. officially recognized an opposition leader named Juan Guaido as the real president of Venezuela. Yes, Venezuela suddenly had two presidents. Trump, along with more than 50 other countries, said Maduro was illegitimate and that Guaido was the rightful leader. Many people believed Maduro would fall within weeks, but he didn't. The military stayed loyal to Maduro. The government remained in control. And Guaido slowly faded from the spotlight. So if Maduro stayed in power, what actually changed? This is where the human impact matters. Sanctions hit the economy hard, and when the economy collapses, everything else collapses with it. Education suffered massively. Teachers were paid salaries that became almost worthless. Universities lost funding. Students dropped out to help their families survive. Many of the brightest young people left the country entirely. Was all of this Trump's fault? No. Venezuela's problems started long before him. But did sanctions make daily life harder for regular people? Most experts agree that they did. Even critics of the Venezuelan government admit that sanctions increased suffering, especially for the poor. So the big question is this: did Trump's strategy work? The short answer is no. Maduro is still in power. Venezuela did not suddenly become a democracy, and living conditions did not dramatically improve. What Trump did succeed in was isolating Venezuela, cutting off oil revenue, and sending a strong political message. Some people praise him for taking a tough stance. Others criticize him for hurting civilians more than politicians. The truth is complicated, and here's the real twist. Years later, the U.S. quietly relaxed some of those sanctions. Not because Venezuela changed dramatically, but because global politics changed. Oil prices rose. Energy needs shifted. And pressure alone didn't produce the results everyone expected. This story matters today because it shows how powerful foreign policy decisions really are. They don't just affect presidents and politicians. They affect classrooms, hospitals, families, and futures. When a country collapses, education collapses with it. And when education collapses, rebuilding a nation becomes even harder. So here's the real takeaway. Donald Trump didn't start Venezuela's collapse. But his policies showed how economic pressure can be both powerful and dangerous. And the people caught in the middle are rarely the ones making the decisions. If you want more videos that explain global events in a way that actually makes sense, subscribe, because the world is complicated enough without everyone yelling at each other. Sometimes, understanding the story is more powerful than picking a side.